Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Photographer Workout with Diane. Special series designed just for my photographer friends. And I have another special guest today, actually the same special guest. We all know and love Joe Brady. Come on over, Joe. Nice curtsy. We'll work on the curtsy squats another time. Today we are going to look at some different progressions of common exercises that people all know or have heard about, but these are ways you can work into something that maybe you're not quite ready to do the full-blown version of. That way you can start to put together your own sets of exercises at home using these progressions. So the first one that we're going to start out with is the push-up. Now everybody out there is cringing, I can see you from here, but we're going to start from the very, very basic. Now, the way I start my people out who have not done push-ups before or haven't done them in a very, very long time is we use the wall. So I'm going to come over and have Joe demonstrate for you against the wall. So you're going to put your hands against the wall, your shoulders and your wrists are going to be at the same level, and then you're going to simply lower yourself to the wall, bringing your elbows back and come back up. Now notice a nice flat back. We don't want rounded back or shoulders. We don't want the hips flexing when we do this. Now Joe, I'm going to have you take a couple steps towards the wall. The closer you are to the wall with your feet, the easier this push-up is. So go ahead again. Now, Joe, I'm going to have you take a couple steps back away from the wall. The further away from the wall your feet are, the harder the push-up is. Now, a couple warnings here. Make sure that you don't have socks on a very slippery floor, or this could end badly. If you're doing it on carpet, it doesn't matter, but just make sure you have a good solid stability on your feet so you don't slide. Go ahead, Joe. And if you're at this point, then you're ready to go on to the next progression, which I'll demo on the floor. The way we're going to do this is we're going to get down and do a push-up from our knees. Again, I want my shoulders and my wrists to be in line. I'm on my knees. You can cross them if you like. You don't have to. I'm going to keep my back very flat. What we don't want to see is a push-up that looks like that. That's not the push-up that we're looking for. Once you've mastered that, then you're ready to go on to the final progression. And I'm going to have Joe demo that for us. Again, on the floor, back nice and flat, and Joe's going to come all the way down and push all the way back up. And see how he's on his toes. His elbows are staying close to his side. His hands, wrists, and shoulders are in line. So there you are with your push-up progression. When you're first starting out, start out with somewhere between 5 and 8 repetitions of whatever modification works for you, and then work up slowly. We'll talk about how to put exercises together in a program a little bit later. Next, we're going to go into the plank progression. Now the plank, push-up is very good for your upper body, your shoulders, your back. Pretty much all of these exercises works the core as well. The plank is more of a core exercise because you really have to pull that belly button back to your spine in order to hold yourself in this plank position. But again, there's a progression on how to get there. So we're going to go through that from the beginning. First, plank progression. Similar to the push-up progression that we just did, you're going to start on your knees and then down to your elbows. So my hands are out flat, I'm on my knees, and I'm in this plank position. Now I'm actively pulling my belly button back to my spine, which is activating my entire core, and that's what's holding me solid here. The next position you would do is to come up on your hands and your knees. So again, I'm holding this plank pretty much by using my core. This position takes a little more arm strength than the previous one did. If you have bad wrists, this might be a little more difficult for you. You might want to stay with the elbow version.
How long should you hold these?
Very good question, Joe. The question was, how long should you hold these? And the answer is, as long as you can. Start out with 10 seconds. If you can do 10 seconds, add 15. Go on up to 20. An active exercise program usually has about a 1 to 2 minute plank in it. That takes some time to work up to that. As you'll find, 30 seconds can be pretty challenging when you're first starting out, so start out slowly. The next progression in the plank, I'm going to have Joe demonstrate. He's going to be doing elbows and feet. So again, you want to make sure that your back is flat. Joe's on his elbows. Sometimes you'll see people interlace their fingers. I don't recommend that. It really doesn't do much for you, but keeping your back flat, your hips up. Joe, can you raise your hips? Can you do it incorrectly? Yes, this is not what we're looking for. Drop your hips down and get that nice flat back. That's what we're looking for in this particular movement. Come on out of that, Joe. I'm going to let you rest for a second. And the last version of the plank progression, we're going to have Joe be on his hands and his feet. So this is the final version.
Next to final.
Next to final, I'm sorry. Yes, there is one more. Well, there are actually several more things you can do with the plank. But from this, again, drop your hips just a little bit, Joe. There you go. So we have his nice flat back. His core is engaged. I know that because if his core wasn't engaged, he wouldn't be able to do this. His shoulders and his wrists are in line. And let's see, how long can you stand there for?
A couple minutes.
Just kidding. You can come on up out of that, Joe, for a second. Do you want to do shoulder taps or do you want me to?
I'm here.
You're there.
I'm
You're there.
here.
All right. Once you master the plank itself, when you're up on your hands and your feet, there's a variety of different things that you can do to challenge even more. The first one that you would go into would be what we call shoulder tap. Joe? So back into that plank. Drop your hips a little bit. There you go. Now he's going to... And the trick here is to A, not fall over, and B, not let your body rotate side to side. I mean, you're going to move a little bit side to side, but not an overtly side to side rotation. So this takes a lot of strength because, as you can tell, your core has to be engaged, but then you're also asking one arm to bear the brunt of the weight while you're doing the shoulder taps. The next progression that we're going to look at is the sit-up progression. There are different ways to do sit-ups. I'm sure everybody's been involved in exercise class in school or at a gym. I come from a CrossFit background and from a personal training background, so I am very sensitive to people not doing crunches where your hands are behind your head. It's very hard on the cervical vertebrae, especially after you're fatigued and you start pulling on your neck. So Joe's going to come down, and with a CrossFit sit-up, we start with our knees bent and our feet flat on the floor. Arms are overhead, and as you sit up, you're going to sit up and put your hands in between your legs. So as you can see, Joe's not doing anything to pull on his neck at all, and all the work is coming from his core. If you don't have somebody to stand on your feet, you can try interlocking them under your bed or your couch, or your dog.
Your
probably
dog?
not. Probably not your dog. Have your dog sit on your feet. Whatever might work for you that way. Another version of the sit-up, that one that we just did, primarily works the upper area of the abdominal muscles. The reverse crunch, misnomer here because we're not using our neck in this at all. Again, start out with your knees bent. Now straighten your knees out completely and come up and out and up and out. This activity mostly works the lower area of the abdominal muscles. So if you do both of those things together, you're going to combine it into a total abdominal exercise. Add the plank into that and you're golden. There is another version of a sit-up that you can do that works not only the front part of the abdominal muscles, but the side part of the abdominal muscles as well. That's called a V-up. And starting with the first modification for the V-up, arms are over your head, one knee is bent, and you're going to raise your upper body and your unbent leg at the same time. And you're going to alternate. I would do 5 on each side. And that is the first modification of the V-up. Going into the next modification, once you've mastered doing the V-up with one bent leg, you're going to straighten both legs, and you're going to come up with one leg and both your hands at the same time. And you're going to alternate. There we go. And this gives you a phenomenal abdominal exercise. Even doing 10 of these a day, you will feel it for sure. Okay. And Joe, can you do a full-on V-up? Yep. Bringing arms and legs up both at the same time. Okay, very good. So that ends our sit-up progression segment. Now we're going to go on into our arm workout. So with our arm workout, being photographers, you're moving your arms constantly, you're holding weight in your arms, you're carrying things. So we want those arm muscles to be as strong as possible. And all of the functional movement exercises that we do help with that. You know, the ground to overheads that we did in our last video work on that as well. But these particular exercises that we're going to go through right now will isolate the biceps and the triceps and strengthen those in particular. So we're going to start out with a set of dumbbells. Joe, if you want to.
You want 2 or 1?
1. Doesn't matter. If you don't have dumbbells at home, to do these exercises, you can go back to your backpack, go back to water bottles, soup cans, anything you might have to put a little resistance on that movement.
Small children?
Small children, puppies, they wiggle a little more, but you know, it only adds to the exercise. So with this, we're looking to isolate, starting out the bicep, which is this muscle on the front part of your arm. So you want to lock the upper part of your arm onto your body. And Joe, I'm going to have you rotate around. Let's do a bicep curl first. Palm is up towards the ceiling. Bring it up and down. This is a slow movement. You don't get any extra credit for doing this. The slower the better. If you can't do it slow, your weight is too heavy. Back off. Again, 8 to 10 reps to start out with this, and make sure you do it on both arms. You don't want to be lopsided. That would look weird. Then, next movement, you're going to rotate. Now your thumb is going to point towards the ceiling as you come up and down. Still, we're keeping this part of the arm isolated and locked to your body, so the movement is only in that bicep area.
And that's called?
Bicep.
This movement?
Oh, hammer curl. Okay. Again, 8 to 10 of these when you're first starting out. Good with that. Third type of curl we do with our arm in the bicep area is called a reverse curl. It's the only orientation that we haven't quite done yet. Back of the hand pointed towards the ceiling, still with everything locked out. You will likely find this more difficult, and you may have to go lower in weight than you did for the other two, because now this is also working the muscles in the back of your lower arm as well. Good. Again, 8 to 10 repetitions of this on each arm to complete that exercise. Now, we've worked the front part of the arm. So we want to work the tricep. A lot of the ladies out there, me included, it's getting to be summer. The last thing you want is that tricep jiggling around back there. So a great way to do that, there are a variety of different exercises, but this is an easy one since you've already got the dumbbell right in your hand. You're going to do an overhead tricep lift. Both hands. Yep, both hands on the dumbbell. Overhead, and again, you're isolating, you're keeping this part of your arm stable. So the only thing that's moving is this area right here. That's what's making that dumbbell go up and down. Now be careful with this. Don't drop the dumbbell on your head. You can do it that way as well. Again, if you're using soup cans or something like that, grab it however you need to. You can also do it one-handed. And as with the other exercises, 8 to 10 repetitions is a good starting point. Mix them all together along with the push-ups, the planks, and the sit-ups, and you'll have an awesome workout for your day. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and we look forward to seeing you again.